Welcome everyone to the first webinar in our Phenology Week webinar series. We're really excited to have you here to learn about how to get started with Nature's Notebook. My name is Erin Postumus. I'm the Partnerships and Projects Manager here at the USA National Phenology Network, based at the University of Arizona here in Tucson. I'm also joined by our wonderful outreach assistant, Mackenzie Tai. She is going to be really walking us through all the basic steps to how to get started. So we're definitely going to go through step by step how to create an account, how to set up a site, add a plant or animal, and make an observation. And we'll make sure that we have some time for questions at the end as well. We're really excited to be celebrating Phenology Week all of this week. We've got the spring equinox coming up later this week. We're going to have a lot of really fun events and daily challenges. So we'll have more information about that at the end of the webinar here. All the other webinars that you can join, as well as some of the other activities we have going on. We would love to hear from you all if you want to post in the chat where you're calling in from. And then feel free to also tell us about maybe something that's blooming or some spring activity that you're seeing if you happen to be seeing it yet. I know it's quite cold in some other parts of the country, unlike here in Tucson where it's been very lovely and warm, and we have a lot of stuff blooming right now, so it's been really nice. I also want to launch a poll before we get started, just to get a sense of kind of where everyone's at. So I'm gonna launch this now, and we just want to know if you're new to Nature's Notebook, you've never done this before, if you're a current Nature's Notebook observer, or maybe you used to use Nature's Notebook, but you don't right now. So we'll just leave that up for a little bit here so we can get a sense of where everyone's at. I also want to, just to orient you to our Zoom today, we have the chat and we welcome you to put in there. I think actually maybe we'll have to, let me see if the chat is on, because I know sometimes the chat is closed off. Let me just make sure that that is on. And then we also have the Q&A. So if you look at the bottom of your screen there, you should be able to post questions in there. I'll just make sure that the chat is open. Okay, I think the chat is open now. Sorry about that. So feel free to post in the chat now if you can, where you're calling in from, and if you want to post anything about what's happening where you are. And then for the Q&A, I welcome you to post in there if you have a specific question that you'd like us to answer. That'll kind of help us keep track of the questions, and maybe you have a shared question with someone else. So please post questions there and then post in the chat where you're calling in from, and if you'd like something that's happening phenology-wise. Okay, now we've got people putting stuff in the chat. We've got people from all over the place. We've got Houston, a couple people from Texas, New York, Massachusetts, South Dakota, Oregon, Michigan. Oh, we've got some tiny buds on the serviceberry. Mallard duck scouting. What else? Oh, now things are really going. Okay, witch hazel's in bloom. And I think I saw something about bluebells too, but it's, oh, Virginia bluebells. Awesome. Keep those coming. We love to see all the stuff that's happening where you are. And it looks like going over to our poll here, I'm going to share that. So we do have most of the people on the call today, 70% of you are totally new to Nature's Notebook, so that's great. Welcome. We do have a few returning Nature's Notebook observers and a couple people that used to use Nature's Notebook but haven't in a while. So thank you all for sharing that. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mackenzie.
Hello, everyone. I'm a student at the University of Arizona, and I've been with Nature's Notebook and USA-NPN for a little over a year now. So yeah, I'm excited to show you guys how we use Nature's Notebook. I'm going to start with, well, let me share my screen first. Okay. Let's go ahead and oh, here we go. Okay. So we will usually start with making an account. So that's probably the easiest to do on your laptop. So we're going to go to Nature's Notebook. This is the website, and then to make an account, you will go here and then it'll be a login page. And if you want to create a new account, you'll just go to this tab, create a new account. And then for these purposes, I'll just make a one with a random email. So Phenology at gmail.com. And then also make a random username. Username can be anything you want. Do Phenology132. And also just do a random password, preferably with a different thing than your username, just to keep your account safe. So I'll do plants or I love plants 432. And then I love plants 432. And then we have a few options here. You'll want to do, I'll just agree to the leaderboard, and then I'll agree to the USA-NPN what terms of service. And then personal contact form. This is optional if you'd like to keep your email address hidden or not. Yeah, I'll just click that for now. And then you do your I'm not a robot thing, and then create a new account.
I
Oh,
think Mackenzie, I think the audio is a little quiet, so
okay.
yeah, maybe you could turn it up a little bit. Thank you.
Is that good? Okay, cool. Well, it looks like that makes sense that phonology is taken. I'll do just a random number. There we go. Oh, and then I have to redo the password. Okay. It's always some kind of technical difficulties.
And I did put in the chat the direct link to this page that Mackenzie is on right now. So you can go to that link and then do the steps that she's describing here to create an account if you don't have one already.
Okay, now that I've typed in everything, hopefully this will go through now. Okay, there we go. We've registered. Okay, cool. So now that we've registered, should we switch it over to the app now?
Go through to the observation deck and show how to
Okay.
set up a site and maybe a plant there, and then we can transition to the app.
Mhm. Okay, so now we're on the observation deck. It should be pretty easy to get to your observation deck. Just click the link once you've set up your account. Then you'll get this little pop-up. That's just like a little welcome thing. You can get started, and we'll give you a little tutorial. This is about our learning tab, the visualization tab so that you can see your data and other people's data. Your program. So if you'd like to join a local phenology program, this is where you'll see which programs you've joined. And then you can also earn badges through Nature's Notebook by completing certain tasks and campaigns and things like that, which is a fun way to just keep up with the app. Okay, so now that you're on the page to set up a site, we'll go to Serve with Nature's Notebook. Oh, maybe not. Go back to the observation deck. Okay. We'll do add a new personal site. It should be on your main page. Okay. Now you'll want to start by putting in a site name. I'll just do my backyard. It can be pretty much anything you want. And then address, just wherever the site that you're setting up is. So I'll just put a random address. And then city, I'm in Tucson, so Tucson, Arizona. And then the random zip code. Okay, and then just make sure that it's at your location with the map. And then this is just latitude and longitude if you want to get it exact. And then now you'll answer some questions about your site. So the degree of development surrounding the site could be, so if you're in an urban location, so the city, you'll put urban. If you're at your house in more of a suburban area, you'll put suburban. If you're out in the country, you'll put rural. And then if you're in the wildlands, you'll put wildlands or semi-wildlands. I'll just put suburban. The site is best described as, and you have a few options, so just the type of land that you're um, putting your site on. I'll just put landscaped area. And then how close is the nearest paved or mainland dirt to your site? Just estimate, I'll say 5 feet. How close is the nearest permanent body of water to the site? We live in Arizona, so not too many of body of waters there. I'll just put, do like 20 miles or something like that. And then what is the area of the site? Just estimate, um, do square feet and like or something like that. These are all just estimates, doesn't have to be perfectly, exact. We just want to get an idea of what your site looks like. And then we move on to the plants. So if you're going to be observing plants at your site, we want to know some information about that. So if you have trees on your site, you can do mostly evergreen trees, which are like pine or live oak. Deciduous trees like maple or larch, a mixture of evergreen and deciduous, or if you have any others, you can put those in the comments. I'll just put deciduous trees. And then is this site on or near a slope? If the surrounding terrain is flat, put that. And if the site is on the slope, in the middle of the slope, or at the bottom of the slope, we'll put those. I'll say that it's relatively flat. And then if yes, the slope faces north, northeast, east, southeast, south, southwest, west, or northwest, you'll put one of those. I will put east. Okay, and then if you have any extra comments, you can put them there. And then if you want to observe any animals, you can also add that to your site. So if you have any cats or dogs, you can add that. I'll say I have some cats on the site. If there's any flower or vegetable gardens maintained at the site, yes, no, or unknown if you're not sure, I'll say yes. And then if there are any bird feeders, nest boxes, or any other kind of features, I'll say that there is a nest box on my site. And again, if you have any other comments, please put them below. And then once you have all of that information filled out, you can click Create Site.
Yeah, so all those other questions there are all optional. It's
Mhm.
just to give us a better sense of, what are the conditions at your site that might influence the timing of the life cycle events of plants and animals that you're observing. So we ask about things like bird feeders because that can influence whether you might see birds at your site. The presence of something like a cat can influence the activity of birds and things. And then the questions about, the whether you have a wooded area or things like that can influence the kind of microclimate that might be at your site. So just remember those are all optional. You don't have to answer them, but they kind of help enhance the information that we collect along with your phenology data. And I also want to say, because a lot of people ask about, oh, what should my site be? Is it my whole yard? Is it a smaller area? And it's really pretty flexible. I think generally try to think about your site as encompassing whatever plants and animals you want to observe. So if you just want to observe one tree, your site can just be the tree basically. So the area of your site might be quite small and you don't have to put the area, but you could say, yeah, it's 10 square feet. It's kind of this area around my tree. If you want to observe multiple things in your yard, maybe it's multiple plants as well as some animals, you might say it's my whole backyard and that's the size of my site. If you have a really large area, maybe you're going to observe at a nearby park and you're going to be going there frequently to make observations there. You might have multiple sites there. It could be that, you have a wooded area and then there's more of like a meadow or a pond. You could set those up as separate sites because they're going to have pretty different temperatures and things like that will influence the phenology. So just keep that in mind. You do your best, and there's no right way to do it. Just try to think about what you're collecting data on, and that will kind of influence your site.
Sounds good. Yeah, we just want to make sure that we're getting the most information that we can. But all optional. Okay, so now that we've had all of our parameters in set, we can create our site. No, I do not want to save that address. Thank you. Okay, now our site is created. So you'll see it show up under your personal sites just to confirm that your site has gone through My Backyard. Now that we've done that, now we can do the observations.
And we did have one question about deleting a site. So right now you're not able to do that on your end, so you have to ask us to do that for you. So please just email support@usanpn.org. I'll put that in the chat, but yeah, you'll have to ask us to do the deletion.
All right, so now we'll want to, before we start observing any plants, we'll want to add a plant to our site. You can do that on the website or on the app. It'd probably be easier to do that on the website, I would say. So let's try doing that on the website. Um, and let's add a plant since that tends to be what people add more so than animals. Okay, so once you click on add a new plant, which should be on your observation deck, you'll want to select the site where your plant or animal is located. You can have multiple sites, but we're just going to save My Backyard because that's the one that we just created. And then to add a plant from the list of available plants, start typing its common or scientific name in the plant species box. The plant that I have for you guys to help observe today is a Arizona or rush desert milkweed. So we'll put, and then that will be, there's rush desert milkweed. And then there are just some optional questions here. So if you want to say how much shade it has, we'll say it has mostly sun. If it's wild, say no. Watered, say no. Fertilized, no. Sex, I'll just say unknown for now. And then planting date, you don't really have to put that unless you know for sure. And then any other comments that you have on the plant. And then you'll put save this plant. Okay, now it is added to our our site. So now when you want to observe that plant, you just go to the site that you want to go to, and then you click on the nickname for that plant. And then if you have multiple plants that are of the same species, it'll usually put like a one after the plant that you added first, and then it'll be two if you have multiple, and three and so forth. So just so you know, if you have multiple species on the same site. Okay, so now that we've added a plant, we can start observing. So let's go back to the observation deck. And let me pull up a little sample plant that I have for you guys. Okay, so this is the observation page for rush desert milkweed. And this is a sample photo of a rush desert milkweed that I took on campus. So I wanted you guys to help me observe this one. So first, we'll start with leaves. Try and get this. So we'll start with initial growth. Initial growth is what you'll see on a plant when, after a period of no growth, when you'll start to see initial tiny leaves growing on the plant. And right now, we probably won't be seeing any of these. But yeah, as you can see, we're mostly seeing flowers and like stems and stuff. So it would be a no on initial growth. And then for young leaves, we aren't in this specific picture, we aren't really seeing many leaves, so we would probably also say no on that one as well. And then same thing as leaves in this specific picture, we don't see any leaves, so we would say no on that as well. But this is just for the specific picture, so there probably are leaves on this plant, but we're just focusing on the picture for this one. All right, so now on flowers and flower buds, we definitely do see some flowers and flower buds. So we would say yes for flowers or flower buds. And then we want to know approximately how many flowers you see on your plant. So in this picture, we'll say we see what, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, about like 25, 25. So it would be 11 to 100.
Yeah, and
Um,
actually this species, this is a species that has inflorescences. So
mhm.
just remember, it says in the definition there that if you're counting the flowers and the flowers occur in inflorescences, you actually count the inflorescences themselves. So we're actually only going to count, I think probably two on here in this photo because we have one
Oh, yeah.
cluster. Yeah, and then there.
Yeah, so yeah, it would be like these individual like whole blocks of flowers. So yeah, we'll see two total. Okay, so yeah, it would be less than three on that one. And then open flowers. So these would be the flower buds. These would be flowers, or these would be open flowers right here. So you will, again, it's inflorescences, not these individual ones. So it would also be less than, say, less than 5% probably on that one, because it's a pretty big plant. Um,
Yeah, it's a little different with these inflorescences too, because you're trying to answer for the number of flowers, it's how many inflorescences. And then with the percent open, it's more about like, yeah, across all the little individual flowers, what percent are open. So yeah, it's kind of hard when doing this with a photo. I mean, when you're doing this in person, it's much easier to be able to get a sense of how many. But yeah, I think like you were saying, Mackenzie, it's maybe like five, six or seven open, and maybe, I don't know, at least twice that many. I definitely less than half of them are open, right? Because you've got one inflorescence at the top with all of them closed, and then the one at the bottom is like maybe 75% open from what we can see in the photo. So I would, and definitely keep in mind, this is an estimate, but I would
yeah.
probably put it in that maybe 25 to 49% category. But if you were there and you thought, no, this is definitely like less than 25% because you can see, more buds than we can see right now, that's totally fine. Don't over stress this. And also this is totally optional. You don't have to answer this second question. It is there to just kind of give more information about what you're seeing. But if you just want to answer the yes or no questions, then that's totally fine as well.
Definitely. Yeah. And like I said, like the plant, like the actual plant is much bigger, so these numbers aren't completely accurate to the picture, but we're gonna try to focus on the picture. Okay, so that's open flowers, and then fruits. We don't see any fruits in this picture, so we'll skip fruits and ripe fruits for that one. We would if you explicitly don't see a phenophase, we would like you to put no on your observations, just so that we know that that phenophase hasn't been observed, rather than leaving it blank. So yeah, we would click no on fruits and ripe fruits, and then also for recent fruit or seed drop. And there you go. That's an observation for this plant. So that's just a general overview of what you would say for this plant. So now I want to show you guys how to actually observe that in the app. So we're going to switch over to the Nature's Notebook app. Let me get my Zoom pulled up on my phone.
So once you get things set up, like Mackenzie did on your observation deck with your site and any plants or animals, we do recommend making your observations on our mobile app. And so that's what Mackenzie's going to load up right now to show you. We wanted to give you this kind of overview of what the questions are with the photo, because it's easier to do that on the computer before when we move to the app, all we can see is the little app screen. So this is just kind of an overview of what kinds of questions you're going to be answering, and then we recommend doing this actually on the mobile app when you're out with your plants.
It is a little difficult to get into the app when you're also on the website. So,
Yeah, it's the Zoom sharing of the app is a little tricky.
Progress.
okay, I think I'm in now. Screen share or stop screen sharing here and share on. Okay, can everyone see my screen?
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to go to the Nature's Notebook app. I've just installed it again. And the first thing you'll see when you download the app is a page to log in. So you can also create an account on the app, but we've already created one on the website because it's a bit easier. But just so you know, like you can create an account on the app as well. So we will start by logging in. Hopefully I can remember the one that I made. There we go. Look at that. Page 9 of .com. And then I think I remember the password.
So,
Oh, I typed the number wrong. Sorry. There we go. Technical difficulties, even when you
yeah,
make.
always double check your your username and
Oh, you already
password.
know.
Does happen.
2, 3, 4,
Yeah,
5.
so just to clarify, if you create your account on the website, you use the exact same login on the app.
Mhm.
And this actually, I want to point out this because this is where a lot of people get stuck. So once you get to this page, make sure you say allow, because if you start clicking other places on the screen right now, you're going to get lost in the website on your phone. And what you want to do is you want to allow. So this is basically saying I'm allowing the information that I just put on the website to be put onto the mobile app so that I can use the app on my phone. So
Okay.
make sure you follow through with that step.
All right, so click allow. Try to get that out of there. Okay. So now we're into our site. So the first page you'll see is your personal sites. This is my backyard, the one I helped set up with you guys. And then if you want to observe a plant, you'll go to plants and animals. And if you click that, you'll see all of the plants and animals that you've added to your site. We added the Rush Desert milkweed, so we'll click on that or go to observe once we've clicked on it. Okay, and then it brings up these options, which are the same as the ones that I showed you previously, just with the ability to click yes and no. So as we said in the thing, we said no on initial growth, no on young leaves, and no on leaves. And then we said yes on flowers and flower buds. We said less than 3 because there were only 2 inflorescences in the picture. And then for open flowers, we also said yes, and we said there were 25 to 49% of them were open flowers. And then no on fruits, no on ripe fruits, and no on the recent fruit and seed drop. And then you can click Save Data to make sure that your observations went through. You can also make sure that the date and stuff is right above if you ended up observing it on a different day. So right now it's on the current date, but if you observed like yesterday and just forgot to add them to Nature's Notebook, you can change the dates there. Okay, so we've saved our data. You can add any comments here if you want to add any more information about the site or the plant. And then you can click Next Plant if you have other plants, but we don't because we only added one. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it for observing just that one plant.
Thanks, Mackenzie. So I did want to point out a couple of other things on this screen before we navigate away from this. So while you're on this screen, then if you kind of forget, oh, what was the definition of what leaves means, there's a little I button you can see next to the question mark. So if you can tap that, it'll bring up this full definition, and we saw that on the website earlier. And this is, it's the attempt is to tell you exactly what we're looking for. So you're not trying to question, oh, what is a leaf for this species? So definitely reference these as you go. And if you can close this, Mackenzie, and then pick the I next to the fruits. So we also, for fruits in particular, have really species-specific information here because fruits can look really different from plant to plant. So we want to tell you what to look for. And so for this species, it's a milkweed. It has a fruit that's a large and pod-like, and it changes and it tells you the colors from green to tan or brown and splits open to expose the seeds. So definitely check out these if you're not sure about what the fruit look like for your plant species. And if you can close this again, um, I also want to just emphasize that those intensity questions about how many are totally optional. So if you can tap on that less than three again, Mackenzie, so there's that not sure at the top. Feel free to just say not sure if you don't want to answer that. And we also have the question mark next to the yes, no. And that's so that if you're not sure about what you're seeing, you can always use the question mark. I also want to point out that we showed you how to save data at the bottom, and you might have seen there's a little flash of a green with the check mark. If you want to make sure that your data have been submitted, you can go to the next screen, which is review. So up at the top, next to the observe menu, is that review screen. And if you click out of the tip, you can see now on today, we actually have a little green check mark that says we submitted data and we did all the questions for our plant. If you only, say you have two plants and you only answer questions for one of them, it's going to show up as incomplete. That's not necessarily wrong. It's just telling you you didn't answer every single question for all of the species at your site. So you might see that. If you tap on that little green check, on the calendar, you kind of get like a preview of what you said. And then if you tap on the Rush Desert Milkweed right there, then you go back to that screen. And so if you need to make corrections or if you want to reference what did I say last week so that you can make a better observation this week, kind of based on what you said before, you can reference that there. It also, on the settings screen, the one all the way to the right, it's going to be by default to sync over Wi-Fi only. So just keep that in mind. If you're making observations at a place where you don't have Wi-Fi, you're going to want to come back to your house and reopen the app or reopen the app in a place where you have Wi-Fi and make sure that they're synced. Because if you're out in the field somewhere and it's only Wi-Fi sync, then your data are going to be stuck on your phone. So you can either turn that off if you want to use your data, or just make sure you're going to check and make sure that your observations are loaded. And then going back to the review screen one more time, if you want to force your data to go into the database, that sync button at the very bottom is going to be a great way to just make sure everything's been submitted. So I would do that periodically just to make sure that your data get uploaded.
Yeah,
Okay, so yeah, feel free to put questions in the chat. We have a couple questions right now that we can get to. And then if there's anything in particular that you'd like us to show you how to do, we can do something like we can add an animal, we can add another plant on the app to show you that. Let us know what you'd like to see. And I'm gonna start looking through the questions here to make sure we get through all these. Okay, so we have a question about, do these observations need to be native species only? And it kind of ties into a couple other questions about what plants and animals you can observe. So yes, in Nature's Notebook, you are restricted to our list of plants and animals. So you have to pick something from that list. That list does include both native and non-native species. We even have some invasive plants and animals on there that are of interest to researchers and natural resource managers, so it's a mix. But you are restricted to doing the species that we have available. The reason for that is we create very detailed protocols about the plants and animals that we have you observe. And so we actually have to do that work of getting all that information gathered and making a protocol for all the species. There is a request process for new species. We try to limit the species that we add. Our goal is really to have a extensive data set on kind of a suite of focal species rather than just a few observations of a lot of different species. So if you're really interested in kind of observing anything that you see, you might want to look at a program like iNaturalist or eBird if you want to do birds. Our program is really intended to be kind of a focused study on a smaller set of species. Let's see. Other questions. Is this app good for youth, 4-H, etc.? Yes, so we do have some restrictions. So just keep in mind to create your own account, you have to be 13 years or older. That has to do with the Privacy Act and just protecting kids from not revealing contact information about themselves. However, you can still do the program with younger kids. You just have to have an adult or an older person who's older than 13 be submitting the data on their behalf. So we do have quite a few teachers that are elementary, middle school age kids, and so they'll just do the activity with their students and then enter the data within their own accounts. But yeah, for older kids, 13 and older, definitely they can have their own accounts. We have a whole process for allowing you to do shared locations and have multiple observers contributing. So I do just want to show, maybe I can screen share that because I do want to highlight that on the website. So let me do that. So we have a whole infrastructure for what we call local phenology programs. These are groups of people that come together that want to do Nature's Notebook together at the same locations. And so this is actually the kind of a map of all the different local phenology programs that we have right now across the country. So you can zoom in, you can get a better sense of the ones that might be in your area. You can click on them to learn more. You can actually click on them and even view their profile. And if you can sign up and actually join this program as well if you want to be part of it, if you're part of that program and you've talked to the leaders there. And so we do encourage this for things like middle school or high school age or university level classrooms where you have a person who's kind of setting up the program and then you're going to have multiple observers collecting data at the same location. So if you'd like more information about that, I'm going to put this link in the chat. And I welcome you to read a little bit more about local phenology programs. There's a lot of resources here. There's a big guide, and then you can actually request a program if you'd like. So here is that link for local phenology programs. What other questions do we have? Let's see. Can data be entered in a notebook and entered later? So if you would like to do this on paper data sheets, we can do that. Mackenzie, do you want to go back to the observation deck and show where you can get paper data sheets? So you'd have to do that on the website and then print out the data sheets. You can use them in the field and then you can enter the data later, either on the website or even on the app. So if you go, yeah, back to your observation deck, yeah, it's probably easiest to go. Yeah, if you're looking for your observation deck, that observe with Nature's Notebook and then the big button for observation deck's the quickest way to get there, or just bookmark this page and that'll get you there. And with that pop-up that keeps coming up, you can actually say don't show again if you don't want to keep seeing that too. Yeah, so if you want to print the data sheets, if you click on the Rush Desert Milkweed there that's under the plants and animals, you'll see an option right there to print field data sheets. And so that's where you can print them. It's kind of, if you don't have more than one plant, they're going to look the same. But if you do the species by species and hit that preview button, that should show you kind of what they look like. Yeah, that's if you have more than one plant and animal, then it'll give you basically one observation slot for each of the species you have. If you go back to the other one that's actually species by species, yeah, this is the one if you only have one plant. This will give you how many? 8 different days where you can go out for, a few weeks and be observing, and then you can come back with your paper data sheet and either enter it on your observation deck or on your phone app. Let's see, other questions. Should we only pick a couple of species? I think that's a great idea. We definitely recommend starting small and just to kind of get familiar with the program. I think you'll find that, after you've been doing this for a few weeks, it starts to get a lot easier. You already are familiar with what all the questions are, and you kind of know what the definitions are. So you have a good sense of that, and it becomes quicker. And at that point, you might want to add more. But yeah, I would probably just add a couple different things at the beginning, or even just one plant is totally fine. Another question about how to enter data. I would rather write my observation info on a pad of paper and then enter it on my desktop. I would say you can try doing that, but I just would make sure that you're recording all the right kind of information. So the paper data sheets are nice because it's including all the questions that you'll get asked. I think if you were to just write something in a notebook, you might miss out on looking for something that you would then wish you had looked for. So by using the paper data sheets, you know the questions that are coming. So Let's see. A question about photos. Okay, so we are not really focused on photos as part of Nature's Notebook. We have developed standardized protocols that are written in this format where we ask you these yes or no questions with the intensity data. And that's really meant to kind of standardize the data to make it easier for researchers and others to use. And so that's the main focus. That being said, there is a way to add a single photo for each of the plants that you register. The purpose of that is to really help you relocate your plant. So you might have, multiple milkweeds in your backyard, and by taking a picture of it and uploading it, it can just make it easier to kind of reference that, and that photo will show up in the app as well. So yeah, actually, Mackenzie, if you want to go back to the observation deck one more time. So if you go to the place where we actually registered the plant, which is the add or edit plants page, that's where you can, if you need to make any adjustments to your plant, add details or anything like that, you can do that. And you can also add an image. So you could actually, yeah, add an image, and you could pick that picture that you were showing us and add that as your plant observation or your registered plant. And then that'll be there. And oh, I guess the file type is strange. It should
Oh, yeah.
accept JPEGs and PNGs, but yeah, I guess let us know if you have trouble. Usually those two file types will work. And then it'll show up once you get into your and I also want to say that we are actually right in the middle of a Nature's Notebook mobile app revamp. And so I would definitely invite you, if you're interested in kind of giving input on and shaping that app. I'm going to put another link in the chat for what's called our participant pool. And this is actually a group of people that are a mix of both current Nature's Notebook users and people who have not used the app before. And we're really hoping to get a wide variety of input to kind of help us make good changes to this app to make it easier to use. And so definitely sign up for that if you want to weigh in on the app. We are planning on having more photo submission as part of that because we have a really great collaboration with iNaturalist as part of that app. And so what's going to happen is we'll have the ability for you to send photos into iNaturalist through our app. So if you'd like to take a picture of your milkweed along with your phenology observation, you'll actually be able to do that and send in the photo. The other really cool thing about that collaboration is we're going to be able to leverage iNaturalist's species identification capabilities. So if you've used iNaturalist, you might know that they have a really great way to identify plants for you. So if you see a milkweed, you're not sure what it is, you can actually take a picture of it, send it to iNat, and get a species ID returned. And so then that will help you register your plant with Nature's Notebook. So really cool stuff coming there. That app should be released in spring of 2026. So yeah, definitely join our participant pool if you'd like to be part of that and hear more updates on that too. Okay, other questions. Let's see. We answered the program one for my plants and animals. Can I only choose it? We did answer that as well. If you're observing the same plant a few days later, do we start a new observation? Yes, definitely. So the way Nature's Notebook works is we'd like you to make repeat observations on the same plants or the same animals at the sites that you're observing at. So if you have a milkweed, you're actually going to be going back to that same milkweed plant. And we encourage you to do this, as frequently as you'd like during the time when things are really happening. Like if you really want to see when all the flowers are on your plant, maybe like 2 to 3 times a week is great. At other times of the year where there's not much going on, maybe you're in the Northeast in the winter, every month or less is fine, or just start observing again once you start seeing things waking up. So that's totally great. But if you only are able to do every other week, that's totally fine. All of your data are going into this big database, and you have a lot of other people near you who are doing observations. So anything that you can contribute is helpful for that larger data set. So yeah, if you are doing this, let's say tomorrow you want to do another observation on that milkweed, you would open up the app and it'll actually give you a fresh data sheet with the current date, and then you would fill out the data sheet again. And so each time you do this, you're doing another set of those observations. We've also got a question about how many plants. So we have, I want to say, over 1,500 species of plants. And let me show you how to get there. This is the participant pool. If you'd like to see the species available, the Observe with Nature's Notebook is a great place to go for anything Nature's Notebook. Here again is that observation deck link. If you'd like to see the species, go down to this page here and then see all, this orange link right here. And then if you can actually search if you want to do, oh, I want to see like all the species that are in Arizona. You can look at those. If you want to do a more advanced filter, let's say you're really interested in what are the deciduous trees that are available or deciduous plants, you can filter it that way. So that's a good way to see kind of what's available. And then you can add them onto your site, either on the website or you can do that on the phone as well. And then we did answer this as well about the frequency. Why is my data incomplete? So on the mobile app, if you remember that calendar page on the review menu, it's going to have a little symbol when you make an observation. And if you didn't answer every question for every single plant and animal registered, it'll give you an incomplete. So yeah, Jean, if you observed all of the questions, then you should get a complete, but maybe send me an email if that's not the case. If you have 5 plants at your site, you have to have answered all the questions for all 5 plants to get it complete. So that might be the issue, but yeah, if that's not the case, let me know and we can look into your specific case further. Let's see, what other questions? Would it be helpful for one of the phenology campaigns like Quercus Quest to monitor many individual plants at a site? That's a great question. I would say observing multiple individuals of the same species can be very helpful because plants, they can have really different phenology. It might be because of their genetics. It might be because of where they're at on your site and like the small microclimate differences. It might be the age of the plant. So yeah, monitoring, we say 2 to 3 individuals of a species can be really helpful to give kind of a good picture of what's happening with phenology for that species at your site. So I would say yes, 2 to 3 individuals is great. If you have multiple species that are part of Kirk Express, that's wonderful as well. That can give us a good idea of how phenology might be different for different species. So yeah, that would be really helpful if you're able to do that. But I also don't want to have you be overwhelmed. So don't pick too many. If this is your first time doing this, I would still start with just a couple things to observe, and then you can always add on more later. Okay, what else? We've got if you're observing a species of bird, how do you know that it's the same one on each day? That's a great question. Yeah, so we didn't talk too much about animals. So yes, animals are certainly different. So you're definitely not going to be knowing if you observe the same individual bird. So that's why for animals, we have you observe at the level of the species. So instead of adding an individual plant, you add an animal species. Do you want to show how to do that, Mackenzie, on your observation deck on the website, maybe? So yeah, you're going to be basically just saying, I'm adding this species of bird, and so I'm going to look for that species every time I'm at my site. So the thing that's shared is the location that you're observing is the same each time.
Okay, so we'll add a animal real quick. Site my backyard. Say we're in Arizona. Species group bird. We'll do partner group. And then let's say we're seeing an Allen's hummingbird. And then you'll add all. Oh no, don't want to do that. Sorry.
And then you can remove all too. Yeah, if you accidentally add all of them. Yeah, I think you have to click on the one and then add to check. It's a second
Ah,
link. Yeah.
okay. And then save checklist. So yeah, you can add many birds to your checklist, but they're just at the species. level, not individuals. So let's just do one for now. And now we've added that to our checklist, so we can go back to the observation deck. So now you see it in your plants and animals. Um, and you should be able to click on that. And then,
Yeah,
um,
so the questions that you're answering about the bird then are about any individuals of that species that you happen to see. And so for intensity for animals, we usually are asking you about how many you see. So it'll be, do you see a bird or an active individual, which is just like an adult of that bird? And then how many do you see in
yeah,
that phase?
yeah. So
And
this is
those,
the
yeah, go
web
ahead.
of it, so you can see some of them. So live individuals, that's just if you see a bird, you'll see you'll say yes on that one. That's alive. And then feeding, if you see them like pecking at seeds or anything. Insect consumption specifically, if it's a hummingbird, you'll probably see it visiting flowers, calls or songs, territorial individuals, things like that. So you probably won't be observing all of these most of the time that you see a bird. It'll just be like a few of them. But yeah, we just want to know like what the bird is up to, basically.
Yeah, and then we did have a question about some more videos and things. Can you go back to the observation deck? I did just want to point out, and Mackenzie did kind of run through this when she first arrived at the observation deck, but there's a lot of stuff on here for you. So definitely the learning tab, which is the one that's next to the observations, is a great place to go. There's a observer certification course. That's the first thing linked on there. And that actually is a 5-module course, and it has a lot of great orientation materials, including some short videos. So like introduction to phenology kind of videos, videos on like how to set up a site and how to add a plant. So I definitely would refer you to this to get a lot more detail about how to do Nature's Notebook.
Mhm.
And then there was a comment about someone having to delete and reinstall the app to see the plants. I would just make sure that you know that, if you set up things on the website and you go to the app and you don't see anything there or it's not right, go back to that review screen and hit that sync button. And that will make sure that if the changes you made on the website didn't get to your phone yet, it'll make sure everything's refreshed and synced up. So you shouldn't have to delete and reinstall the app to do that. You should be able to just use that sync and see the changes that you made. Sometimes if you make changes on your phone and then you go to the website, it can be slower. There's not a sync button on the website. And so it has to, go through our system. So that can be a little lagged, up to an hour or so. So just keep that in mind. But going the other direction, it should be immediate, especially with that sync button. And the learning site is free. Someone asked about the cost for that. So yeah, it's a free observer certification course. Lots of other resources on there. So spend some time checking out that part of your site for sure.
Yeah, the botany primer and the phenophase primer have really great photos of all like a bunch of different phenophases for all kinds of plants. So that's a great one to if you like just want to see what different phenophases look like in different plants. These two are great.
Yes, it's the Phenophase primer is 240 pages of beautiful plant photos. So definitely check that out. Well, we have a couple minutes left. I did just want to plug some of our other Phenology Week events. So let me put this link in the chat here. So this is just day 1 of 5, and we hope that you will join us for the rest of the week. We have on the Phenology Week page, I just put in the chat. If you want to help us share about Phenology Week, you can go to our Phenology Week media kit. There you'll see that we're doing different observation challenges each day this week. So today the challenge is to make a phenology friend that's a tree. So find a tree, draw it, take a picture of it, post on social media about it, add it to your site if you want to observe it long term with Nature's Notebook. And we've got other observation challenges the rest of the week. You can check those out. We also have a webinar each day of this week. So tomorrow we actually have a campaign webinar. Campaigns are a way you can collect data on specific species that either scientists or natural resource managers want the data on those species because they're going to be doing research or using them for management. And so this will have three of those researchers as part of that webinar, and they'll be talking about, why they wanted those campaigns to get started and how they're using the data. We've also got on Wednesday our plant side chat with our director, Teresa Crimmins. She just had a new book, Phenology, that just came out a couple weeks ago. So she's going to be sharing some of the stories from that book. We've also got a Phenology calendar webinar coming up on Thursday, where we'll show you how to make some visualizations of either your data, or if you're just getting started, of some of the other data that have been collected through Nature's Notebook. And then Friday, we'll have three more researchers that have used Nature's Notebook data in a scientific publication in the last year. And so that's a really great way to see how useful your data are, and how your data have been used by scientists to learn really cool things in the last year. So please join us for any of those. And then if you're not already signed up, let me copy this and put this in the chat. Please sign up for our Phenology Week emails. And we'll email you each morning this week to just remind you about the webinars coming up, the daily challenges, and then also give you the webinar links from the webinars this week. All right, we've got a couple minutes left for any last questions. Let's see. I think we've addressed all the questions. Thank you all for joining us. Yes, we have recorded this webinar. We're going to send out the recording in a follow-up email. Really appreciate you being here. Feel free to reach out if you have any follow-up emails or questions. Probably the support email is the best way to reach out to us, and one of our staff will get back to you. So if you have specific questions, something's not syncing, or you're not able to delete a site, you want us to do it, then we will get those questions answered for you. Let's see, tomorrow's webinar is at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific. So in Central Time, it's 3 p.m. Central for the campaign combo. So yeah, we hope to see you at some of our other webinars, and thank you so much for your interest in Nature's Notebook. And yeah, we'll be seeing you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
All right.